Everyone. This is I don't know how this video is going to turn out because I thought I was going to do a reading today, but then I started cleaning and that snowballed. So, it's a bit late to do a reading right now, but I just thought I'd talk to you guys. Um the first thing I wanted to talk about was, or probably the only thing I want to talk about today, is this these voicemails, this voicemail that was left to a random woman in the US. Now, a TikToker called Sydney Mulvaney uploaded two videos during which a guy left a voicemail going off on her mother. They had one phone conversation and then the mother apparently blocked him. So this guy went on for like about two videos. There were two parts to it, and he was going over all the usual points that radicalized men make. He's saying, oh, she's a typical angry woman, she's an asshole, she's fucked up, women block men nowadays, just for doing nothing, all the rest of it. So I was sitting there listening to these voicemails. At first I was amused by it, then I thought that's really scary for the mother, and then I started understanding what was behind the man's perspective. Now, you guys know I have BPD. I'm not trying to make an excuse for my mental illness now. But you guys know I have BPD and a shitload of unresolved trauma, not only from the abuse in my childhood, but also from gang stalking, right? So that tends to culminate in a lot of unhealed anger. And this is the thing about anger, right? What people don't understand is that a lot of men and women do the same things. We just do it for different reasons. It's like we reach the same destinations, but we have different routes towards getting there. Where men are concerned, men are not normally holding a lot of anger within. And I know how it sounds, but just bear with me, right? A lot of men are not normally holding that much anger inside because this society doesn't encourage men to hold in their anger. It encourages men to hold in their vulnerability, to hold in their sadness, to hold in their despondency. So whilst the man is holding all that in, he's not necessarily angry at first. When he's in a place of loneliness, when he's in a place of feeling like he can't connect with other people, it's mostly an overwhelming sadness, not necessarily frustration or anger. It's just an overwhelming sadness. And then you've got some podcasters coming along, stoking up your anger. You've got, political pundits coming along, stoking up your anger. All of it is anger, 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 anger. And next thing you know, a sad man becomes an angry man, and an angry man becomes an entitled man, going off on a woman that he only had one conversation with. With women, it's different. With women, we radicalize ourselves. This is the thing that nobody tells you. With women, we radicalize ourselves. When we are mean, our meanness is very specific, and we radicalize ourselves without realizing it. And the reason why we do that is because this society doesn't look down favorably on angry women. Angry women are painted as nags. We're painted as unfaithful. We're painted as, immoral or amoral. When a woman is angry or portrayed as angry, she's usually portrayed as not a good or attractive person. So within a woman is a lot of anger, right? And all the things that a woman is being told to be sad about, oh, men are so callous, men are so cruel. All the things that women are taught to be sad about, our anger is radicalizing every single talking point that this society feeds us. Our anger is radicalizing that shit for us. Society is not radicalizing us to not accept men. It's actually trying to encourage us to accept men as they are, even if they're like not engaging in behavior that's constructive. We're actually being programmed to accept men as they are. But like squatting inside us like a fucking toad is all this unhealed, unresolved, and often unexpressed anger. So we radicalize ourselves. Our anger is radicalizing us from within. And it leads to the same entitled behavior, the same crossing of boundaries of anybody that we're attracted to that it results in with men. Again, a lot of my gang stalkers are women. Women are usually the most involved gang stalkers. Men, from a societal standpoint, do the most damage societally, right? But women are very specific with their abuse. So both men and women are capable of this behavior. But where it's so dangerous is that men are socialized to behave this way. They're socialized into being angry and lashing out. And there's a whole bunch of sadness and grief behind that shit. That's dangerous. That's incredibly dangerous. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's, you know, for me, it's more dangerous with men because men are encouraged to be that way. With women, it's dangerous, sure, because of how specific we are in our cruelty. With women, it's worse because of how specific we are in our cruelty. Because, you know, even those with unhealed trauma, we still have to have a certain amount of emotional intelligence to be able to survive, especially in comparison to men. So our cruelty is more specific. It attacks the heart more. It's like we know how and where to attack. Whereas with men, male radicalization is explosive. It will hit anyone and everyone in its path. And also that type of anger is systemically encouraged. It's scary because on top of that, the thing that tends to make people angry the most is the thing that they desire and can't have. Because passion let's not forget what passion is. It's a mixture of love and anger. When you can't have that which you're passionate about, it makes you angry. So what do? You lash out. You become entitled. You become somebody that you don't recognize almost, because you're being denied that thing that is stirring passionate feelings within you. And when you're denied those things, instead of thinking to yourself, maybe it's not the right time, maybe I'm not in the right space to receive that, there are billions of other people on the planet, literally, I'm bound to find someone. Instead of us thinking that radicalization of, you know, it's that mixture of self-loathing and vanity, right? Well, if they don't want me, there must be something wrong with them. They must be just like every other woman. They must be just fucked up and assholes. Let's be clear. It's radicalization through anger that brings out this type of attitude in anyone, male or female. And I'm going to say something that hasn't been said before, but people don't get angry with you not acknowledging them because they feel like they deserve your acknowledgement. You're not going to tell me a guy is going to leave like a 10-minute voicemail at least to somebody who barely knows because he genuinely feels like he deserves her attention. He doesn't think he does. Nobody, like, if I feel like I deserve your attention, I'm not going to act like that. He's acting like that towards that woman's mother because he feels deep down within he probably doesn't deserve any attention. So the first opportunity that he has to lash out and prove exactly why he doesn't deserve that attention, he's going to take it. So that his subconscious mind doesn't think he's crazy. That's another thing. It's rampant insecurity. It's not just like anger, it's insecurity, it's grief, it's all these unhealed things that bring out this entitled behavior in other people. And I know I've engaged in like lighter versions of what that woman's endured, lighter versions of that. But trust me, I've been there. I've felt those things. I've felt those feelings of entitlement, of anger. So I know what it's like. And plus, as a TI, I'm dealing with perps who have the same feelings towards me. They're intimidated by me, so they feel like if they get a response or a reaction out of me, then they've won. And when they don't get it, they feel bad about themselves because they want attention from the thing that they fear, or that they want attention from that thing that they fear. And they want benevolent attention from that thing that they fear. And when they don't get it, they act out because they believe they don't really deserve it. That's another thing. Yeah, like I said before, it's the belief that we don't really deserve what we want. It's imposter syndrome. So it's radicalization through anger. And it's imposter syndrome through rampant insecurity. It's the belief that we don't actually deserve what we want, which makes us act out and makes us think to ourselves, well, fuck you then. If you're not going to be with me, fuck you. I don't like you anyway. You're fucking ugly or whatever. And like I said, both men and women have engaged in this behavior. But how do I compare this? As a tarot reader, right, I work with astrology. And the way I see men and women is I see the moon opposite the sun in transit. It's the moon opposite sun transit, right? It's the full moon transit. Both men and women do the same things, but they either do it for different reasons or they have different sources that lead them there. Do you know what I mean? And that kind of narcissistic behavior and that narcissistic thinking of, if I don't get what I want, then I'm a loser. It's like, well, if you really wanted it, if you really felt like you deserved it, you would never have fucking blew it up the way you did. And you wouldn't subconsciously gravitate towards people that you know will give you that reaction. Because why go there? Do you understand what I mean? That is my feelings of this whole Mulvaney situation. It's not as simple as saying that men are dangerous. We all know they're dangerous. We all know men are dangerous, but it's not as simple as that. It's not as simple as that. There's very specific ways in which men are dangerous. Women are more dangerous on a personal level, but men are more dangerous on a societal level. In what ways are they dangerous though? That's what we're not talking about. And also we're not talking about radicalization and how it actually colors our ability to relate to one another. That's another thing we're not talking about. Because I've seen radicalization in so many different people that I love. That sadness has just been increasingly repressed and shoved down for this fucking malevolent rage that is being fed by radicalizing bullshit. So that's what I see. When I hear voice messages like that, when I heard that voice message, those voice messages or that video, that, you know, those two parts from Sydney Mulvaney and that guy going off on her mum, basically for nothing, that's what I hear. I hear radicalization and I hear imposter syndrome. And honestly, I'm scared for the mum. I just hope that guy doesn't know where she lives. Because America, you know, information works different over there than it does here. I just hope that man don't find her. Because he sounds crazy, for real. He really sounds crazy. I hope that mum's safe, honestly. But that's exactly the type of behavior that radicalization results in. And I'm sorry to say that it will only get worse. It will only get worse. So hold tight. I implore anybody who is even remotely sane and together, make sure you know how to defend yourself. Because people out here are fucking crazy. Make sure you know how to defend yourself. Speaking of which, now that we're on the subject of, you know, of crossing somebody's boundaries or entitlement, I had a lot to say about this baby reindeer situation. Now, I hold my hands up. I admit I haven't seen the show, but there were some news stories that caught my eye about this whole baby reindeer situation, right? So, Baby Reindeer is about a TV show about this guy who was being stalked by this woman, right? And he does the same thing that Michaela Cole did with her own personal experiences with assault. He basically like paints himself or paints his character as not a willing participant, but like partially complicit in the stalking that he goes through. So that's how he paints himself, right? And of course there were people trying to find out who the Martha character was, the female stalker character was, and they managed to find her, and they subjected her to all the same treatment that she did with Richard, although she didn't send any death threats to Richard. She didn't send any apparently she didn't send any death threats to him, but she did send a shitload of emails and messages and things like that, and it sounded like pure hell, honestly. So he stalked her. She stalked him. But there was also this lady, hang on, I think she was the widow of a Labour MP. And apparently she hired this woman as an intern or something at her law firm. Now, the lady at the time, the lady who then went on to stalk Richard, the lady at the time, I think was a law graduate. So she was pretty intelligent and pretty high up. And she went into a workplace. Apparently she started becoming extremely erratic. They had to fire her, I think, after about a week. And then that's when the wife started getting death threats and all kinds of stuff like that. So she basically threatened the wife, sending death threats and everything. So she stalked the wife for firing her, stalked the widow of an MP for firing her, a widow of a Labour MP for firing her. And then she went on to stalk this guy. Do you understand what I mean? So this is what I think about the whole situation. Now, I believe the stalker when she says that she hadn't actually contacted Richard in 12 years. I believe her when she says that. But here's the thing, right? When you go around stalking people and you go around sending them loads of messages and you put them under severe distress and you go around sending death threats and things like that, this is what I've noticed of karma. You will get what you deserve. When it comes to something bad, I mean, when it comes to something good, what happens is that you get what you deserve when you least expect it. So if you've done good things, you get blessings back multiple times over and in ways that you didn't expect, right? So that's what you get back. Whenever you do something good, you get multiple waves of that back to you, and at a time where you least expected it, so that it's felt the most. So whatever good that you do for other people, you get all that shit right back at a time where you're going to feel it most. So that's the wonderful thing about karma. The not so wonderful thing is that the same thing happens when you do something bad. I believe the stalker when they say they haven't been bothering Richard for 12 years. I believe them. And I also believe that it might have been even longer since she had any contact with that widow, because I think a restraining order was put against the stalker to protect the widow, right? So I believe this stalker when they say it's been 12 years. But because the stalker put that out there, she can't then complain when she starts getting death threats and when she starts getting bombarded with messages. She can't then turn around and complain about it, because you're the one who chose to engage in that behavior. So, of course, it's going to be natural that you're going to get exactly the same shit back with multiple people doing the same thing to you. You get more, you get what you've put out multiple times over at a time when you least deserve it. It's been 12 years since you've bothered anyone, apparently. So of course you're going to get that shit back at a time when you least deserve it, because that is usually what happens. That's how karma works, okay? So she got what she put out multiple times over at not only, you know, through not only at a time when she probably deserves it least, but through people who deserve to do it to her the least. Because these people sending her death threats, they're even bigger cowards than she is, right? So when you do something bad to people, not only do you get it at a time when you least deserve it, not only do you get that shit back at a time when you least deserve it, you also get it from the people who deserve to do it to you the least. In other words, you get what you deserve at a time you don't deserve it, and through people who have no right to do that to you. So you get all that shit back. Yeah. You get all that shit back. And, you know, if you don't get that shit back and you keep being an arsehole to people and getting away with it, it passes down to other people, or people that you love, or people that are direct descendants of you. That passes down. But I digress. So the point that I was making with that very poorly was that this woman, basically, she got that coming to her, because you can't treat people that way and think that you're just going to get away with it. You can't do that to people and think you're going to get away with that shit. Nobody gets away with the cruelty that they leave in the world. Not me, not my perps, not any TR. Nobody gets away with that shit. Absolutely nobody. So what this woman is going through, from my mind, is karma. Yes, you've left people alone for 12 years. It doesn't mean that the shit that you've done is not going to come back and bite you in the ass. It always does at a time when you least deserve it. From people who don't deserve to do that to you. Which leads me to my next point. The public are full of shit. Okay? You're gonna harass and harangue this woman for sending loads of messages. And I agree, it's incredibly distressing. But you're gonna play detective to find out who's been sending him all these messages. And yet you're not gonna use your detective skills to find out who abused Richard? Now, let's be real. I don't begrudge Richard how he wants to deal with his abuse. If he wants to, you know, because if he wants to deal with his pain a specific way, I can't take that away from him. If that's what he decides to do, then that's what he decides to do. But guess what? He decides that because he is the fucking victim. He is the fucking survivor of this abuse. Therefore, how he decides to deal with it is how he decides to deal with it. It's not for anybody else to decide, and it's certainly not for his abusers to decide. And it's not for us to decide either. At the same time, the fact that the public would go out of their way to go after this woman and not after the entertainment exec that abused Richard in real life. So you're going to go after her. You know she's vulnerable and you know she's mentally ill. You're not going to go after the sexual deviant. That just proves to me that the public are full of shit. Because why are you going after her and not him? Like, what is going on there? What is going on where you will choose to instead go after a vulnerable woman, a vulnerable fat woman, and not the person who sexually abused homeboy and left him with all kinds of fucking trauma? I mean, they both left him with trauma, but that man that you refuse to go after, he has way more power than this one woman could. It's one woman. She has no power. She has no real friends. And that's who you decide to go after. So that lets me know you're full of shit. That lets me know that the public are full of shit. It's like I said, that's how karma works. You get what you deserve at a time you least deserve it from people who deserve the least to say anything. Because why the fuck are these people going after her? Why are they not going after the person, the high up person in entertainment? God knows how many other person that this person is abused. God knows how many other people that person's abused while you're playing detective over this woman who ain't bothered anybody in 12 years. Like, that's why I say the public are full of shit. Don't at me. When it comes to racism, sexism, abuse, like, they always want to go after these loner white women who ain't got nothing else to do. You always want to go after them. But when it comes to people with real power, you don't boycott their shit. You don't investigate nothing. You don't go after him. You just rely on a handful of people to do it for you. Fuck you, for real. The public are full of it. I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them. And when it comes to Richard not properly concealing her identity, like, I'm sorry, but that's not his responsibility. It's the government's responsibility to look after her and make sure she doesn't harm herself or anyone else. It's their responsibility. But again, they're too busy blacklisting anybody they don't like and not anybody who is actually dangerous. Because where's her list? Like, actually, I can't assume that, because quite frankly, anything that ends up in the news is usually a false flag anyway. But where are the measures to protect her from herself and to protect her from other people apart from that restraining order? Where is all that energy for her? Instead, you're putting people on government watch lists that you don't like. That's what you're fucking doing. And that's another question I want to ask the public. You've got people like me over here being tortured. You've got people like my mother being murdered. We're telling you what the cause is. The information is right there on the internet for you to find at your leisure. And yet, instead of actually doing anything about it, you'd rather believe we're crazy, rather than investigate anything, rather than research anything, rather than help us. You're going after this fucking woman who has nothing to do with you. You've got fucking traffickers and criminals and abusers right at your front door that you ain't doing shit about. In fact, you're working alongside them. You are full of shit. And never mind me, who has to deal with racists and bigots on the regular. Never mind somebody like me. One of my TI friends has a child abuser, a literal child abuser, living right above her, torturing the fuck out of her. They tortured the fuck out of me while I was over at her house. And yet no sleuthing when it comes to them people, even though she's tried multiple times to get justice. No sleuthing for those people. No investigation into the corruption of psychiatry and how that's basically used as another arm of trafficking. Nothing there, but you got time to fucking pursue this woman who already has no power and who already ain't been bothering nobody in 12 fucking years. So this is exactly why I say the public is full of shit. You're full of shit. You don't care about this man. You don't care about this man and what he's gone through. You don't care about anybody but yourselves and trying to make the oddballs of society suffer so that you can look human by comparison. Fuck you. Fuck you. You're full of shit. Know what I mean? It's ridiculous. But then again, with the baby reindeer thing and the voicemail thing, again, radicalization. You got two people who are violating the boundaries of people that they've only met once or a handful of times. Tonic water, sorry. You've got two people doing the same thing. Well, not exactly the same thing, but you get the gist. You've got two people engaging in entitled behavior. And that entitled behavior, it has the same source. It's radicalization. Only with men, they're radicalized by society. Because this toxic patriarchy needs toxic men. With women, the radicalization comes from within. It comes from inside us. Because of everything, not only everything that's been done to us, but what we do to ourselves on top of that. So you've got radicalization coming from two different places. But how they manifest in damn near the same ways. You understand what I mean? And I know because I've dealt with abuse from both men and women. And they do the same shit, but it's for very, very different reasons. Very different reasons. Once again, I've repeated in this video several times, it's down to radicalization and imposter syndrome. From anger and insecurity. And as for me, I still have that. I still have like anger and insecurity. When I first came to Brighton, I was still filled with that. And I lost a really good friendship because of it. Or what could have been a good friendship because of it. Or several good friendships because of it. You know, but it's that same anger and insecurity that is in everyone. And the reason why this world is the way it is because we don't fucking deal with it. We'd rather let ourselves be radicalized and focus that anger where we don't need to focus it. Case in point with the baby reindeer thing. Why the fuck are you like... You lot have learned nothing from Weinstein and P. Diddy and Jay-Z and Beyonce and Gaga and the Beatles and fucking Leonard Cohen. You have learned nothing. You're still doing the same shit. Fuck you for real. You ain't learned a goddamn thing, man. You haven't learned a fucking thing. Not one, not a one. Not one thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, those are my thoughts on that anyway. So I'm going to leave a link on Sydney Mulvaney. And I'm also going to leave a link of the baby reindeer article that I was talking about. Because I did like the tiniest bit of research on that. So I'll link that in above this video on Facebook. And then again on YouTube. I'll link those. I am going to be doing a... Okay, which comes first? I'm going to be doing a May reading. That's going to be uploaded Monday. And I'm going to be doing a first quarter... no, not a first quarter. I always get them confused. A third quarter moon reading for the 1st of May. I'm going to be uploading that on Tuesday. Back to back. I know. But I am going to be doing those at that time because it's the most opportune for me. So I will see you then on Empress Justice Tarot. And yeah, that's about it. Peace and blessings. I love you guys so much. Is there anything I've forgotten before I go? I think that's it. So I'm sure I'll remember as soon as this video's off. That always fucking happens. But yeah, I gotta go. Peace and blessings. I love you guys so much. Bye-bye.